Hello? Hello, Khoi?
Hi.
Hi. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are
Why
you?
is it why is it good? I'm good too. So
Hmm.
why is it you're good? What makes your day good?
I think I have just finished my task writing perfect. I
Wow,
my purpose day.
that is why you're good. So it's feeling of accomplishment, right?
Yes, accomplishment.
Yeah. So if you did something very good, that means you accomplished something which is very good, right?
Yes.
Okay, just like, of course, our lesson. Okay, so allow me to present to you our lesson for today because it's the continuation of what we had discussed last time. Okay,
Okay.
okay. So, just what I have promised you that we are going to study a little bit about this one. Okay, so it's all about the past simple tense of the verb. But before that, we're going to listen to the audio here. Okay.
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 Track 12, Unit 2, Speaking, Exercise 2.
So, Hussein,
Can you
I'm
hear
going
that?
to ask you
Yeah, I
some
hear.
Yeah.
questions about your childhood. Do you come from a large family or a small family?
I'm sorry, could you repeat, please?
Do you come from a large family or a small family?
Well, actually, it's not large or small. Uh, what's the word? It's middle. No, no, sorry, it's medium sized. I am two brothers. Sorry, I have two brothers who are both older than me.
As a child, who did you spend more time with? Your family or your friends?
When I was a small child, I spent more time with my family, my mother, who looked after me, and I played a lot with my brothers. Then, when I was a bit older, about 10 or 11, I started to play more with friends I made at school because we enjoyed doing the same things. And my mother went back to her job.
And when you were a child, how did you spend your free time?
I think I watched television quite a lot when I was a small child, and I played computer games with my brothers. When I was older, I did a lot of sports with my friends. We went swimming and we played tennis and football because I love doing sports.
What did you enjoy most about school?
I think I enjoyed doing science subjects most. I liked physics and chemistry, especially. We didn't do sports at school, so I did those in my free time.
And when you were at school, who do you think was your best teacher?
I think perhaps my chemistry teacher, because she explained things very clearly. Also, she was very, I'm not sure about the word, uh, interested. No, enthusiastic. She made us do tests, I mean, experiments in the laboratory, so we learned a lot. I never missed one of her lessons.
Okay. So I hope you were able to hear, okay, something in that particular conversation, okay, and you were able to hear on how to use the past simple tense of the verb. Okay? But of course, the be verb was given to us. Okay? So if we're talking about past simple tense of the be verbs, so we're talking about of two. So one was if we're talking only of one thing, and where if we're talking about more than one things. Right? Okay. What about when we say spend?
In
So what's the past simple tense of the word spend?
the past form is spent,
Very good. Okay. It's T. So spent. That's correct. What about look?
looked
So it should be looked with
with ed, not
ed.
ed.
Very good. Okay. And then what about play?
Played, we add ed.
Played. Add ed. Okay. So using the rules, right? So you still remember the rules that we had. What about start?
Started,
That's correct. What about make?
made,
Okay, it's made. What about enjoy?
enjoyed, we add
Yes. What
ed.
about, yeah. So enjoyed. And then what about go?
Went,
Yes. What about watch?
what,
Okay, with an ed in it, right? What
yes,
about do?
did,
Did. Okay, what about like?
liked,
Very good. With only d in it, right? What
yes,
about explain?
explained,
Explained. What about learn?
learned, or learned, ed.
Okay, ed. But in the United Kingdom, actually, they do not use ed. So instead, they just put t
T,
in the word learn. So that's learnt. Okay? That's in the UK English. Okay? Then what about miss?
miss,
Missed with
ed.
ed in it. Okay, very good. Now, what have you observed in this particular past simple tense of the verb? Like spend, like make, like go, do. Okay? So, how this becomes or how this particular infinitive changes to its past simple tense. So, it's because all of these infinitives are
Regular verb,
regular or irregular verbs.
yes, it,
Irregular verbs. Okay? So those verbs that we just put D or ED in it are those regular
verb,
verbs. But those who change their spelling would be irregular
verb,
verbs.
yes.
Okay? And yeah, so you get it this one perfect. Okay? Next. So let's try to complete the sentences with the past tense of the verbs in brackets. So this one. Number one has been given to us. Can you read this one, please?
Sui,
Okay, Shui.
Sui lost her dictionary because she left it on the train.
Okay, so what are we going to use in here?
Left.
Left. Okay, very good. What about number two?
My teacher got angry with me when I forgot to do my homework.
That's correct. Number three.
When I was 7, my parents gave me a bicycle, which I rode everywhere.
Yes, so gave. Okay, and then rode everywhere. Number four.
I rode the car my father bought.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. Next, number five.
Ivan just caught the train in time.
So with an ed in it. So catch.
Caught.
Next, number six.
What?
Number six.
Well,
Ali.
no, catch we don't add ed is irregular verb.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. So what's the correct answer in here?
Cat.
Caught.
Yes, that works.
It's caught. Okay. It's caught. Okay. That's correct. Next, number six.
Ali wrote the number on a piece of paper and put it in his pocket.
Okay. So why is it put?
We don't change
Yes, because we don't have a
platform.
past yeah, past tense for put. Okay, it should be put. Okay, because we learned that one in our previous lessons, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this one is wrote, and still this one is put. Okay, very good. That's correct. Next. Oh, before that, do you have any questions with this so far?
No question?
So you did this one, okay?
Yes.
You did it's great, okay? And I know I'm very positive that you know all of this, okay? Okay, next, let's try to have the key grammar. So remember this one, Koi. In IELTS, candidates often make mistakes when writing about the past. So correct the mistake in each of these sentences. So let's try to examine the sentences in here. Number one has been given to us.
Worse.
So yeah, so the correct answer here is was, not.
Nouns.
So
Is.
where yes, not is, right? So the be verb should be was because it's already done in the past. Okay?
Okay.
Next, what about number two? Can you read this one, please?
In the past, when we want to go somewhere, we have to work or write a horse.
Mm,
So we remove want with wanted.
okay. We removed.
Want with
No, we do not remove want.
wanted.
Yeah, so we just add ed with want, huh? But we do not remove, okay? Because if you're going to remove that, so it will not be what is one? It's not correct if we're going to remove, but just add only ed. So in the past when we wanted to go somewhere, we had to do we still another one in here? Examine the sentence, Koi.
What?
Do we have another one that we need to change?
Mm, no. Road,
Why?
road, right. We remove it with road.
Okay. What about walked?
I don't think not. I don't think so.
Why?
We had to go because we got had to in part form, so we do not change the word into part form.
What about ride?
We don't change.
Oh, so you said while ago it's road, right?
Not
Okay. Now remember why we don't need to change this one. So what's the main reason? Why do we need still to put walked instead of walked or rode a horse?
because according to simple tense, yes, I don't know how to say. Wait,
Yeah. Okay. What do you mean by that? We had already studied this one before, right? The rules. If we have
um ah when we have
we do not change, okay? If we do have that two, so it should remain the infinitive
form,
or the what do we
base
call this one?
base form.
The base form. Okay, so to walk or ride a horse. Okay, so we just have to change, or not change, but we just had to add ed in the word want, so that becomes wanted. Okay, next, number three.
This chart informed US about how many people were reached the age of 100 or more in the UK between 1911 and 2011.
Yes, so this chart informs us about how many people were reached the age of 100 or more in the United Kingdom between 1911 and 2011.
Hmm? Informs
Hmm?
Uh, we are eating,
Yes, okay. Not
not
informs. Okay, so we have to say this chart informed us because it's already done, right? In the past. So you had already that chart. You are maybe it's done already. It's done in the past. Okay, so therefore we have to use informed us about how many people were reached. And look at this one. Of course, it's also correct because we use the word people. So we're talking of not only one person, but it's many. Okay, that's why we have to use where. And it conforms also with our base form, which is
for
inform. Okay, okay, next, number 4.
the amount of leisure time that people spend watching television had dropped to 3% in 2010.
Yes, the amount of leisure time that people spent watching television has dropped to 3% in 2010.
Has dropped. We, we remove has.
And what are we going to use?
We just remove has. Yes.
So, the amount of leisure time that people spent watching television dropped to 3% in 2010. Am I right?
Yes. That's it.
Okay, that aside from that, let's try to analyze. Okay, what's the instruction in here? Correct the mistake in each of these sentences. And what are the keywords that we should have to understand? Writing about the past. So we are on the past simple tense. Now look at the tense or the verb in this particular sentence. What's the verb? Spent.
Spend.
So do you think the verb used in here is correct?
Correct.
Okay. So therefore, do we need to change that?
No. We don't.
No. So it remains spent, right?
Yes.
Okay. The amount of leisure time that people spent watching television has dropped to 3% in 2010. Do you think it's wrong?
It's wrong. We do not use part. We do not use C.
Has. Yes. Why? Because,
We don't have six keywords.
and look at the word dropped.
Dropped. Uh-huh.
Okay, drop is in the past tense. And we learn in the past that if we are using, remember the use of the has and the use of the have, right? The use of the had. I hope you can still remember that. When do we use the word has? When do we use the word have? If you're talking of singular noun, right? Television, singular, has dropped to 3% in 2010. If this one watching televisions, so we're wrong in using. It should be halved because of the noun.
But I think we do not use present perfect in this sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right.
So we remove
So
has.
we have to remove the has. Okay, very good. Okay, so has should be removed in here. Okay, it should be the amount of leisure time that people spent watching television dropped to 3% in 2010. So that would be more correct. Okay, next,
Yes.
number 5.
The cinema attendance of 25
To
to 6
34-year
is
olds
were reasons from 60% to 80% in 21.
was risen.
Rows. We do not use passive in this sentence.
We do not use what?
As passive.
Why? So the cinema attendance of 25 to 34-year-olds
We remove words, the word words. We,
and what we are going to use.
we do not use any words. We just remove
Why?
because this is past simple, not present perfect.
So what are we going to use? Because we have, and look at this one.
Mm.
It says in here 25 to 34-year-olds,
Hmm.
meaning we have two ages, okay, that we should have to understand in here. So do you think it's right to use was?
No.
How many ages we're talking in here?
What
It's
do you
two
mean?
ages. So is it proper to use where instead of was?
I say this is not passive
Why?
because it is past simple.
Mm-hmm. And the
It
past simple is
is an action that is um is an action that has been happened in the past and don't last to the recent.
so. What do you think would be the correct one? We
Correct.
remove the was, so the cinema attendance of 25 to 34-year-olds
Recent. Rose.
risen from
Rose.
60.
No, rose.
o- Okay, rose from 60% to
To
80%
80%.
in 2021.
Yes,
Okay,
it's correct.
so we have to remove the
Words.
was, and then we have to change.
Rose. Recent to rose.
Okay, if we're going to say the cinema attendance of 25 to 34-year-olds had been risen from 60% to 80% in 2001, do you think is that correct?
No, correct.
Why?
Because it is an action that is happened in the past.
But we have the word had been risen or risen from 60% to 80% in 2001. Had been. That means it's the past participle, right?
Hmm.
And then after that, if it is past participle, tense of the verb, we have to what? We have to still use the base form of the verb, which is risen. Right? So the cinema attendance of 25 to 34-year-olds has been risen from 60% to 80% in 2001. Okay. Your sentence, we have to remove the was. The cinema attendance of 25 to 34-year-olds rose from 60% to 80% in 2001.
Yes, that's
It could be. Okay?
yeah.
It could be. But do you think had been risen is wrong?
It's wrong. Certainly, it's wrong.
Why?
Because there is no keyword to identify the present perfect tense. Got it.
Present perfect tense? Oh, we have here the base form is risen and we use had been.
Right say
Yes.
no.
Because the rule says if you're going to use the past participle of the verb had, okay, been plus the base form.
You can feel now.
Okay? Okay, but anyway, you're correct. Huh? So it's rows. So we do not use actually the double,
Words.
yes, the double verbs in here. Okay? Was or
Has been.
do you think we cannot put where?
Of course not, because it is not passive.
Yes, so it should be rows. So
Yes.
risen, do you think risen is a present tense?
Risen is past particle.
Past participle. Okay? So what is the past simple tense of risen?
Risen arose.
Yes. And what is the base form?
Rise.
Rise. Very good. Okay. So that's the answer. Okay? So in an IELTS exams, actually, let's say for example, if this might happen to you, that someone would ask you, okay, ask you something that you need to what? You need to prove your answer. So you are going to do like this, okay? And do not what is one? Do not be get affected if certain questions like that, okay, that would probably happen during the exam. So if you are confident, you have to say it confidently. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, because sometimes they are just testing you. If you know the rules. So since you know the rules, of course, that would be correct.
Yes.
Okay, so they are just going to test you. That's why they are going to tell something that what about like this? What about like that? And then if you're going to say yes, it might be. Oh, they're going to say why is it? It might be. Then you need to prove your answer. Okay, one answer. If you are confident with your answer, one answer would be enough. And then just explain a little bit and then they will be satisfied and that's it. Okay? And you have to defend your answer. Do not change your answer because of their questions or because of the follow-up questions if you are so sure of your answer. Okay, Koi, that's an advice, huh? Because most of the IELTS candidates actually often mistakes in using and writing the past simple tense of the verb. Okay?
Okay.
Even me sometimes I got actually what is one confused in using this one, especially if we have the combination of the be verbs. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So therefore, do not be confused of that. Okay? Next. Okay, verbs plus the ed. These are just very simple, right? So
We
there
don't
are
need
three possible ways of pronouncing
ET.
ed.
Okay.
Okay? So we have t, like asked. And then we have
Mended.
mended. Okay?
Mend.
And then we have
Oh, there's something wrong. Mend.
hmm? No. The listen and match how ed is pronounced for this verb. So 1, 2, 3 with the symbols. Okay. So let's try to listen first, okay?
Sure.
So we need to choose from
Okay.
the choices. That's why it's very
Track
important
15.
to
Unit 2.
understand first.
Pronunciation.
Okay.
Okay.
Exercise 1. 1,
Asked.
Mm,
2,
have you heard that?
Mended.
Yes.
3,
Called.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Let's try to repeat. One more. No
Okay.
need.
No need. Yes.
No need. Okay. So number one, where do you think is the correct one?
Wants B.
Yes, you heard asked.
Yes.
Okay, so it's T. So the ed in there sound as T or use as T. Okay, number two,
To mend is to see.
men,
Mended.
mended. Is it mended?
Mended.
Yes, it's mended. Okay, so it's
Call.
mended. Next, what about number three?
3A. Called.
It's D. Okay, sound as D. Cold.
Cold.
Okay, so asked, and then mended, ud, and then cold, d. Okay?
It's
Okay.
actual nouns.
Yeah. So there are three ways, possible ways on how to pronounce the ed. Okay, just like the following words. Okay, so maybe I don't know because this one is the first time that I encountered when in an IELTS, okay, that there are questions like this. So I don't know. Okay, maybe you will encounter this one, right? Okay, that you need to identify the correct pronunciation.
Uh, This
So
is
you have to watch out for that also, right?
yes.
Okay. Next,
Mm.
listen and write each of these verbs in the correct column of the table below. Oh, see? So there are there is this particular activity in an IELTS that you need to put its proper pronunciation. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Number one has been given to us, appeared. So it's the. Okay? What
Mm.
about this one?
Art. We are in the first column.
Okay, t. Next.
Ended. The second column.
Okay, ended. D, d. Okay, next.
Enjoyed. The third column.
Okay, enjoyed. Okay,
Enjoyed.
next.
Finished. The first column.
Yes, the t sound. Next.
Hot. The first column.
T. Okay,
Am I right? Hot. The first.
yes, hoped. It's t sound. T. Next.
Improve. The third column.
Improved. Okay, next.
The invented. The second column.
Yes, invented. Invented. So the, is it the first or the second?
The second.
The second. Next.
Light.
Liked.
First. Light.
The t
First.
sound. Next.
Looked.
Looked.
The first column.
Yes, look. Looked. It's t sounds.
Needed. The second column.
Okay, needed. It's the second.
Occurs.
Occurred.
The third
Occurred.
column. Yes.
Where is it?
The third column.
The third. That's correct. Next.
Played.
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 Where is it?
Played. The third column too.
The third. Yes.
Remembered. The third
Remembered.
column.
The,
The third column.
yes.
Started. The second column.
Started. Okay, the second.
Wanted. The second. What? The first.
Yes, watched.
Wished. The first.
Wished. Okay, wished. The
Wish.
first. Okay, it's
Wish.
just simple, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you just have, all you need to do is you just have to read, okay? Read the word, okay, and listen how you pronounce that, okay? Oh, so there would be questions like this in an IELTS. So it's this the first time that I encountered this one. Okay,
Oh.
next. Okay, reading number two. So true, false, not given. Okay,
Okay.
can you read this one, please?
You are going to read passages about a man who sailed across the Pacific Ocean. Before you read, what problems do you think sailors might have when they cross ocean in small boats?
Mm. So you are going to read a passage about
Yes.
a man who sailed in a boat across the Pacific Ocean. Before you read, what problems do you think sailors might have when they cross oceans in small boats? So, what do you think? Take note the
Um,
keywords in here.
Pacific Ocean.
Okay, so they're going to cross the Pacific Ocean. Remember? We're not talking of just only a sea, but it's an ocean. So when we say ocean is bigger than the sea,
Okay.
take note of that.
Yes.
And then,
Small
aside from that,
small balls.
yes, so we are going to, of course, to take note the word sailors in here because what we are going to understand is how there the sailors were going to sail using a boat across the Pacific Ocean, right? And
Yes.
take note, it's not just a boat, but it's a small boat. It's not a ship, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I know you have in mind, you can say about that. What do
Yes.
you think would be the sailors might have when they cross oceans in small boats?
Okay. In the Pacific Ocean, there's variety of dangers, which is in the oceans, such as sharks, the ocean creatures, also the waves and the tsunami. Some natural disasters may you may encounter. This, uh, if a sailor across the ocean, there's many problem which is lies in the path. It is absolutely arduous voyage when you encounter many dangerous things in the world, more dangerous,
Okay.
such as sharks eating human. Um, you may encounter the tsunami. Also, you may also your boat have some problems such as um, diving, shipwrecks. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when encounters the big wave, I think.
Okay. So you were able to mention the sailor's point of view and then the point of view of the small boats. Okay? Am I right? You're able to mention the dangers that this particular sailors will be if they are going to cross the oceans riding a small boats. And after giving, okay, after giving the reasons, the dangers, you're able to mention also about the small boats. Okay? But I don't know if you were able to mention waves. Have you mentioned that one?
Yes, may.
Ah, you mentioned that. Okay, so I wasn't able to hear that because I am expecting that you should have to mention that one because, okay, what would be the biggest problem that this particular sailors might have in crossing the oceans riding a small boat? I want to hear the very, very what was one? The big ideas,
You decide.
okay, in riding this particular small boats. And sometimes we have to consider, okay, tsunami, it not happens many times. It just happens only once, right? Tsunami. Sometimes tsunami, there would be what reasons before it became a tsunami, right?
Yes.
Okay. But we have to remember in crossing the oceans, what might be the biggest problem that they are going to face using a small boats?
I'll believe.
Again,
I think the biggest problem when they across the Pacific Ocean is the belief, their belief. Am I right?
their belief.
Yes.
Believe as in Belief.
Yes, that's word.
Why? Would you kindly explain your answer?
Um, I think when they have enough bravery, they will face many challenges they can get over it.
So
But
that they could survive.
yeah, they could survive.
Okay. So you should have to believe in themselves that they
Yes,
can do that. They can surpass. They can be able to cross the oceans riding a small boats, but without thinking the dangers that they might face in crossing the oceans using the small boats. Do you think these particular small boats can be able to surpass with waves, not just only waves, but we call this one tidal waves. Not just only the simple waves, but of course, it's a bigger waves.
yes, that's the right
And
answer.
what do you think? They able to cross the ocean, the Pacific Ocean?
I don't think so, because even a ship or bigger boat cannot certainly abroad, cannot certainly cross the Pacific Ocean.
Yes,
Danger.
because of the current, okay? So
Yes,
the current in that particular ocean is not just the usual current, okay? That
yes,
they might be encounter. So there would be a bigger waves that might struck on their boat. And what do you think would happen to them? Are they going to believe in themselves? Okay, I should have to believe in myself that I surpassed this one. So therefore, okay, let's go. Let's ride our boats and let's cross over the Pacific Ocean.
uh-huh.
Despite despite of the fact that they were going to face a lot of dangers in their sailing activity.
Sure.
So if they just going to believe in themselves, so they were going to die.
Of
So
course.
let's try to be very specific. So what would be the biggest problem that this particular sailors might have in crossing the Pacific Ocean? Okay, the first one would be
Fools.
waves. Okay? It
Okay.
should be the waves. So their biggest enemy in crossing the Pacific Ocean would be the waves. They should have to consider that one. Okay? What
Yes.
if it rains?
Training.
What if there would be winds?
So I think wind. I don't think wind are threatening.
Actually, have you tried to ride in a boat and sail in in an ocean? Have you tried to ride a ship?
Never mind. I have never.
Really? So
Yes.
so you wasn't able to ride the ship?
Yes. Have you?
Oh, me, I already experienced riding not a boat or boats. Okay, boats I already experienced riding a boat, but we just use the boats in a river, not in the ocean. Why? Because boats cannot survive in oceans,
Yes.
especially if they are crossing the Pacific Ocean. Okay, and aside from that, the biggest problem that they were going to encounter would be the winds. Actually, even it's just only a normal day. But if you are crossing in an ocean, there would be as if there would be winds that cause waves, even just a normal day. Okay? What if there would be storm along the way? Because if they were going to cross and go somewhere, they will going to cross that maybe, let's say for example, from
Yes.
Vietnam going to the Philippines. They're just going to ride a boat and they will going to take the Pacific Ocean. So
Yes.
do you think can they be able to reach Philippines?
I don't think so because they may lose sense of direction.
Maybe they cannot. Okay?
Yes.
Because they're just only riding a boat. Okay? So they cannot survive. What do you think? Are we the same thinking now? Can they survive? Can this particular sailors can be able to survive? Have you heard a sailor and telling the media or in the internet that they just use the small boats in crossing the Pacific Ocean? Have you heard a news like that?
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
Really? Oh, I wasn't able to hear a news like that, that there is a small boat crossing the Pacific Ocean and reach safely on in their destination. But let's try this one. Let's try to read now the passage, okay? Uh, we don't know. Maybe there would be someone, okay, that crossed the Pacific Ocean using the small boats.
Yes.
Okay, but before that, let's try to now look at this one, huh? Koi, read the passage quickly. That means what technique you are going to use.
What?
What technique you are going to use
Um.
in reading the passage quickly. It should be the skimming. Okay.
Okay.
But before that, let's try to answer the question. What question did Mao want to answer by making his voyage? And then number two, how did the voyage change Mao's life? Now, what do you think? There would be a guide question. Okay?
What?
So, instead of using skimming, use
Scanning.
scanning. Very good. Why? Because there are two guide questions that we need to answer. So we just have to focus in answering the two questions, right? Okay. Try to give me the answer in question number one. What question did Mao want to answer by making his voyage?
Um. Yes. He's want to find. He want to find a way from one island to the other without navigational instrument.
Okay. So where is that particular answer you found? Is it on the first sentence, on the second, on the third?
Paragraph one, line 3 and 4.
Okay, paragraph 1, sentence 3 and 4. So
Line.
this one is sentence number 1
No, no, no.
until here. Then sentence number 2 until here. This is the sentence number
Three.
3. Okay? So its purpose was to find out if seafarers in the distant past could
Good.
have
Ah,
found their way from one island to the other without navigational instruments, or whether the islands had been populated by accident. Okay, did you think you answered the question? What question did Ma want to answer by making his voyage? Now, let's try to analyze the question, Koi. What question did Mao want to answer by making his voyage?
I think he want to answer the questions. If seafarers can find way to the one island to the other without navigational equipment,
Why do you think?
because because it's suitable to the question one.
Okay. Can you prove to me your answer? Why is it that was the answer, or yes, that Mao wanted by his voyage?
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
actually, actually, okay, I'm going to give you hint, okay?
Okay.
You're near to that.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's wrong, huh? I wouldn't say it's wrong.
Really?
Okay? It's 50%. So I'm going to give you 50 points for that. If the points is 100, I'm going to give you 50 for that. Okay? So the other remaining 50, it depends on how you are going to defend your answer. Okay?
Okay.
I'm not going to say wrong because you have points for that.
Yes. I think. What your answer?
Hmm?
What your answer?
What do you mean?
I mean,
What's the answer?
yes. Do you find your own answer?
No. I wasn't able to find my answer yet. But I'm asking you to prove your answer because it sounds that it's the question that Mao wanted to answer by making his voyage.
Hmm. Last question is my one to answer.
Okay. So in order to answer this one, okay, let's try to tackle all of this, okay? And I want your concentration is very important in here, Koi. Why? Because sometimes questions like this, we cannot found it in here, right? Without analyzing the passage. Okay, because sometimes we cannot find in here, but it's just only a different word maybe. So they use a different word in order for you to what? To maybe to be like for example, so that you can be able to find, okay, locate, so
Yes.
that you can be able to what? To dig more deeper with the answer. Okay? So I'm going to read this one, huh? So Mao sailed from Hawaii to Tahiti using traditional methods. Oh, what is the traditional methods? In early 1976, Mao Pialug, okay, a
Fisherman.
fisherman,
That
led an expedition in which he sailed a traditional Polynesian boat across 2,500 miles of ocean from Hawaii to Tahiti. Now, look at this one, huh? Polynesian boat. So it's not a ship, so it's smaller than a ship because it's just only a boat,
oh wow.
right? And they are crossing across 2,500 miles from Hawaii to Tahiti. So the Polynesian, this one is Polynesian, voyaging,
Has
no, it's the name, okay? It's the name of the voyage society. So Polynesia Voyaging Society had organized the expedition. So that means it was organized, right? It was planned. Okay? Now, its purpose was to find out if seafarers in the distant past could have found their way from one island to other without navigational instruments.
can I have a question?
Yeah.
The sentence is purpose was to find out. I wonder what is kind of its grammatical structures.
Why?
Where to find out is something from.
Where?
Where to
We're,
find out.
we're just talking about purpose, not purposes. So
Where
its purpose was
more specific. Why we use to.
to find.
Yes. Were found or find.
Yeah. Actually, this one is a passage, so we cannot do something about this, okay? Because it was written, okay? It was written in here, yeah. So later on, we're going to correct that one, okay? So but we have to focus here on the on the question that we need to understand, okay? So this time we do not have to correct what is wrong in the passage, okay, or in the construction of this particular passage, because it was written. uh, People, writers, sometimes are not perfect, okay?
Okay.
So sometimes they have grammatical lapses also. Okay? So let's try to focus. Okay? So what where are we now? So have found their way from island or one island to the other without navigational
Instrument.
instruments. Look at this one. Navigational instruments. So when we say navigational instruments, what does it mean?
The instrument is used for navigational purpose.
Yes, in locating if where where is their particular position at that point in time, so that whatever happens, they might be what? There might be rescuers that they could be able to find their way in there, right? But
Yes.
you without a navigational instruments, it's not easy task to do. It's a very hard task to do, right? Because they don't know where to go, right? Because sheep, bigger sheeps, okay, they have this particular instruments that they could be able to what? To locate their location. And they could be able to reach their destination using these navigational instruments.
Oh,
But this particular voyage doesn't use a navigational instruments, or whether the islands had been populated by accident. So there is no what it goes on ocular visit with that particular island. Okay, whether there would be a lot of accidents in here. So they just set up an expedition like that. So
okay.
at the moment, okay, at the time, Mao was the only man
Alive.
alive who knew how to navigate just by observing the stars. Wow.
Amazing.
The wind and the sea. Wow. So he is an amazing person because without this navigational, he can be able to observe their destinations by just only observing the stars, the wind, and the sea. Okay? Next, he had never before sailed to Tahiti. O see? So, he wasn't able to go there in Tahiti, which was a long way to the south. However, he understood how the wind and the sea behave around islands. So he was confident he could find his way. So the voyage took him and his crew a month to complete, and he did it without a compass or
Watch.
a charts. Wow, amazing person. Okay? And look at this one, huh? It's 1 month for them to what? To complete their voyage. It's 1 month. So that's 30 to 31 days. Okay. His grandfather began the task of teaching him how to navigate when he was still a baby. Ah, that's why. Okay. So he showed him pools of water on the beach to teach him how the behavior of the waves and wind change in different places. Later, Mao used a circle of stones to memorize the positions of the stars. So each stone was
Left
laid out in the sand to
to
represent a star.
wow,
Okay? Then the
sad,
voyage proved that Hawaii's first inhabitants came in small boats and navigated by reading the sea and the stars. Mao himself became a keen teacher, passing on his traditional secrets to people of other cultures so that his knowledge would not be lost. He explained that the positions of the stars to his students, but he allowed them to write things down because he
he
knew
knew
they would never be able to remember everything as he had done. Okay? So, what
yes,
question did Mao want to answer by making his voyage? He wanted to, you're correct. Okay? He wanted to find out if
yeah,
seafarers in the distant past could have found their way from one island to another without the use of an instruments called navigational instruments. And another one, whether the island he wanted to what? He wanted to understand also whether the islands has been populated by accident. So that's the question that Mao want to answer by making his voyage.
oh,
Very good. Okay?
okay.
You're right. Now, number two question. How did the voyage change Mao's life?
He's become a king teacher. That he has now he's passing his traditional secret to
Yes.
futures, so that people won't be able to forget his knowledge.
Yes. Okay. Despite of not using the navigational instruments, okay, so they taught or he taught his students using the traditional way of navigating. Okay? So he was able to transfer that learning to his students. And later on, he became a kin
King teacher.
teacher. Okay? Very good job. Okay? Now, let's try to go back in here. What do you think would be the problem that they are facing? Okay, it was mentioned in here, see, the wind, right? Okay, so the wind and and how does sea behave in the islands. So that would be the biggest problem that they will going to encounter along the way,
Invest
especially if they are going to use a small boats.
IT
Okay? Okay, now
the big
read these statements and find the words in italics in the first three sentences of the passage.
a
The
purpose
purpose of Mao's voyage
were to
was to
find
find the
quickly
quickest route between Hawaii and Tahiti. Okay? Purpose.
purpose.
Now, what's the instruction? Find
Is the words in
words in
the
italics in the first
three
three
sentences.
sentences of the passage. So let's go back to the three sentences of the passage. And
The purpose
yeah, the italics in here is
on purpose.
purpose. So have you seen a purpose in here?
Yeah, I see. Its purpose. The sentence three
Yeah, so its purpose is to find or was to find
to find a way for a
the
quickly
quickest route between Hawaii and Tahiti.
Tahiti.
Okay? And next, the purpose of Mao's voyage was to find out if navigating between islands had been possible in the past or Mao's boat belonged to Polynesian Voyaging Society. So what do you think?
Hmm.
So these are the three sentences, okay? And what we are going to understand in here is which do you think in here would be the reason or the statements that we can also relate with the passage. So the purpose of Mao's voyage is to find out the quickest route between Hawaii and Tahiti. Is that the reason?
I think so. Yes.
Is that the reason? Or the best reason for that is the purpose of Mao's voyage was to find out if navigating between islands had been possible in the past.
I don't think so because his purpose. He want to go to Tahiti.
Yes. But look at this one. Let's try to go back in here. Distant pasts could have been found their way from one island to another without navigational instruments. So the word distant pasts, what do you think?
Hmm. I feel confused now.
Okay. Now, decide if the statements above are true or false or not given according to information in the passage. Number one, is it true or false?
It's false.
Are it was mentioned in the passage about the quickest route between Hawaii and Tahiti. Is it mentioned in the story in the passage rather?
No,
No. So
it's
this one
false.
is
Not
it false or not given?
not given.
Not given. Okay. What about this? The purpose of Mao's voyage was to find out if navigating between islands had been possible in the past.
It's false.
Why false?
Hmm.
Okay, you have to understand navigating between islands. It's not actually the same that was written in here, but we can see in here that it was mentioned about distant pasts, way, their way from one island to other. And look at this one. Between islands had been possible in the past. Okay. Number three. Let's proceed with number three first. Mouse boat belong to the Polynesian Voyaging Society.
It's true.
Yes. Okay. Because they were the one who formed the expedition team, right? Including Mouse. So this one is true. What about the second one?
I think the second. I'm not sure if it's false or not given.
Mm-hmm. Why? Navigating between islands had been possible in the past. Okay, going back in here. So what's the purpose of this particular team? Is to what? Is to find out if seafarers in the distant past could have found their way from one island to another without using an instruments, or whether the islands had been populated by accident. So what do you think? Let's decide.
Hmm. Has been possible. I think it is the same or similar.
It's the same with this.
with the its purpose.
Yes. Okay. So it's all the same. Okay. It's just only something that not totally the same words, but if you try to understand this one, we can also say that this particular lines is also the same with that particular line. Okay, but there are words that had been changed, but if we try to compare with that passage, it's almost the same.
Yes.
Okay? Okay. So that's it. Now, we had already understand or understood about how to use true statements, false statements, and not given statements. So true if the statement agrees with the information, and false if it doesn't agree or
Contradict.
contradicts with the information. And not given is there is no information on this. Okay, Koi?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to leave this particular what is one particular lessons. We're not yet done with unit number 2. So what we had able to study today is all about reading. Okay, reading a passage again through the use of the techniques scanning and skimming technique. Okay. Okay, and this time it's going to be a little bit harder, right?
Yes, a big
And
heart.
we expect that on the next lessons that we have, it's more harder than this. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, but we have to, we can do that. Okay, Koi?
Yes. Okay.
Believe in your power. Okay? Okay, so thank you so much for your time. We'll see you again on next meeting, Koi. Have a nice night. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Goodbye. Too. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
night. Goodbye.
Okay.